Good afternoon, everyone. Apopka High School and Lake Highland Prep welcome you to Game 2 of the 15th Annual Earl Graham Metro vs. Florida Challenge, the event that puts the reputation of the Orlando Metro Conference on the line against some of the best talent in the greater Central Florida area. And today we welcome as our guests, wearing the black jerseys, visitors on the scoreboard from Seabreeze High School. They are the Sandcrabs. And wearing the white jerseys, home on the scoreboard, representing the Orlando Metro Conference, please welcome the Wekiva High School Mustangs. Let's meet the teams, beginning with Seabreeze. And we will start for them at point guard with 5'8" junior, number 3, Chris Tyrell. At guard and forward, 6'2" senior, number 4, Evan Bailey. At forward, 6'2" senior, number 5, Willie Tucker Jr. At small forward, 6'1" senior, number 10, Jaden Dixon. And finally for the Sandcrabs, at forward, 6'5" junior, number 14, Jordan Anthony. And now, let's meet the starting lineup for the Wekiva High School Mustangs. Starting at guard, 6'1" junior, number 3, Aaron Nichols. At guard, 6'6" junior, number 21, Dieujuste. At point guard, 6'7" senior, number 10, Jasen Francillon. At guard, 6'1" senior, number 1, Darion Thomas. And finally for the Mustangs at point guard, 6'2" senior, number 2, Louvens St. Pierre. The head coach of the Sandcrabs in his 4th year at Seabreeze, Ray Gaines, and in his 12th year at the helm of the Mustangs, Mr. Jasen Francillon. For those of you here in the arena, we are live streaming this afternoon's game on YouTube and the NFHS network. The channel name is Metro VSFL, or on the NFHS network, search for Metro versus Florida, or either of the participating schools. And we want to welcome those of you who've done just that. My name is Mark Barchi, Media Director for the Metro versus Florida Challenge. And I am joined by Neil Fisher, Apopka and Orlando sports writer, as we prepare to take you through this second game. And Neil, if you went by the first 2 minutes of game 1, you might have thought that it was going to be a snoozer, but it actually turned out to be a thriller. Horizon eked out the victory in the last couple minutes to put Metro on the board first. Metro, of course, won the event last year. After having lost the previous 4, now Wekiva is going to try to continue to carry the standard for the Metro Conference against an opponent. Now, I don't know about you, Neil, but I have never called a game for the Seabreeze Sandcrabs.
Absolutely, Mark. As far as the last game, Wekiva Seabreeze, a hard act to follow. That game came down to the final couple of minutes. It was back and forth for the middle part of that game before Horizon put together a 7-0 run, which clinched it. And as you mentioned, 1-0 lead now for the Metro Conference. We'll explain more about what that means as this game unfolds. We are underway for the second game, 45 seconds in. Wekiva unable to drop their first field goal attempt. So the first possession for Seabreeze, 0-0. And still 0-0. Ripping down that rebound, Francillon, the 6'7" senior wing. Back the other way we go. Still looking for our first points of the game. And both these teams come in. If you talk about the season preview, very similar stories. Both were under 500, 12 and 14 for Wekiva. Of course, they're representing the Metro Conference. As not able to get the roll, Francillon, 10 and 15 record for Seabreeze, representing the Florida contingency. Both these teams have been rebuilding for a couple of seasons after losing a large graduating class 2 years ago, or 3 years ago for Wekiva, 3 years ago for Seabreeze. Wekiva going all the way to the state Final Four 3 seasons ago, 2022. 6-14 first quarter. Seabreeze brings back 6 players from last year's team. They had the advantage of being up 51 points per game, 4 of which are starters. Jordan Anthony, 40% from three-point reach, second leading scorer. Jeremiah Outler, third in scoring, leading in rebounds and steals. Evan Bailey did not play last year because of injury, and Jordan Donohue joining the team as a freshman.
Jasen Francillon is called on his first personal foul, the team's first. Checking into the game for him is Caden G. Lewis.
So looking over to Wekiva, as I mentioned, 2022, that team made it all the way to the state Final Four, and they've been steadily rebuilding the last 2 years. Of course, if you're a Wekiva fan, you know Mark Barchi, that's the other voice you're hearing. He's also the public address announcer. As back to the rim along that baseline, Tyrell unable to convert. The second chance opportunity. And myself, I'm Neil Fisher. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon. We are the in-house team for Wekiva, so certainly you're going to get a lot more details, a lot more information during this game than you're probably going to get for most of the teams. We hope we can present it to you in an enjoying and exciting way. It's down low. That's Dieujuste. And one of the things I can tell you is that this is a team since that 2022 state Final Four team, which has been steadily building towards regaining that status.
Sandcrabs foul is called against Willie Tucker Jr., his first, the team's first. And that will send Kenny Dieujuste to the line, shooting 2.
And that steady rebuilding starts with 7 returning varsity players, all of which at one time or another has drawn the starting assignment. As Wekiva scores the first points of the game on the free throw. That's Nichols at the line. Nichols, a 6' 1" junior guard.
Returning the game for the Mustangs, Jasen Francillon.
Also returning Darion Thomas, Louvens St. Pierre, Jasen Francillon, Markel Anderson, Kenny Dieujuste, Caden Jean Luis. And Mark, so far they come in 4-0, and I can just tell you, again, eye test, they're certainly looking like a team that over the last 2 years has gone through a share of trials and tribulations. They've learned from those mistakes. They've not only grown and matured physically, but in terms of their basketball IQ, their strategy, their game design.
Yeah, absolutely. During the preseason classic, at the first look that we got at them for this year, I described them as being in midseason form, and I'll stand by that conclusion with what we've seen in the first 4 games of the regular season, as we get a
Foul called against Kenny Dieujuste, his first, the team's second.
Certainly, these players have now spent a lot of varsity minutes together, so that makes a huge difference. A lot of them also play fall ball together. And they're, of course, like you said, they just got another year of maturity under their belts. And so now this team that has really struggled to find their rhythm over the last couple of years now seems ready to compete. And, I mean, again, I don't know that I am capable of offering a truly objective, unbiased perspective, but I think Wekiva could be a sleeper team. I mean, when you look at the Source Hoops rankings, you look at Max Preps, you look at ESPN, you're not going to see any mention of Wekiva, because I think you really have to get into the season before that. But I could see Wekiva being a playoff contender if they continue on the trajectory they're on.
Yeah, Wekiva. So 4:21, a 1-0 lead for Wekiva. Both these teams defensive oriented, both the coaches known for defense first. So if you wanted to sum up Wekiva in a couple
Foul's called against number 3, Chris Tyrell, his first, the team's third. And that will send the Mustangs Kai Orr to the line.
And to sum up in a couple of sentences, this Wekiva team Just looks much more cohesive, a much more cohesive, in sync, rhythmic team. And I would like to point out, though, too, Mark, that over the past couple of years, this team, the players we mentioned have shown, as the lead now 2-0, they have shown a certain inclination of talent. That's certainly been there. It's not like the talent's been has been missing. It's just been a matter of being able to evolve and develop that talent, along with, as you said, Mark, in a team unit, a cohesive unit.
Yeah, of course, I say that as Wekiva so far put up 2 points in the first 4 minutes.
Yeah, but so, Seabreeze has yet to put up a point.
That's true. So, I mean, certainly we're seeing the defense come out strong. Layup missed there by Cale Benedict. Offensive rebound, though, will give the Sandcrabs another chance. Seabreeze out of Daytona Beach. Again, this is not an opponent that Wekiva would customarily encounter in the regular season. Certainly, they'll never see them in district play. They're not in the same classification, so you'd never see them in the playoffs. And honestly, that's kind of the point, as we get a
basket by Evan Bailey to put the Sandcrabs on the board.
That's kind of the point
2-2.
of this Metro versus Florida Challenge. A lot of the contests that you see here are going to be against other, tri-county area schools that might have been on the regular schedule anyway, even if they're not necessarily Metro or district games. But some of the contests, like this one, are games that, I just don't see a universe in which Coach Lubin would have scheduled this game by himself. And that's just the beauty of this, is you get to play against a question mark, an unknown rival, somebody whose coach you don't really know, whose style you don't really know, as we get a foul called against Evan Bailey, his first, the team's fourth.
Yeah, and Wekiva, with their man-to-man defense, they like to alternate. We've seen this for 12 years now with Coach Lubin, back between full court and half court. 2-3 zone on defense for Seabreeze. Stop, pop, in, drop. Wekiva back in the lead, 4-2. So 4-2 lead now for Wekiva. Wekiva now in that full court, and actually looks like they are now also in a 1-2-2 full court trap. Now they go back to the man-to-man after the inbound pass. So if you're new to the Metro versus Florida Challenge, first of all, 2.5 in the first quarter. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you enjoyed the broadcast as much as we do bring it to you. Again, the first game came down to the last couple of minutes. Horizon putting together a 7-0 run to clinch that after trailing by as many as 12 in the first half. So certainly we've already had some excitement, something to write about and to watch. That's Orr, one of the newcomers, getting the rebound. The second opportunity goes to Thomas, a couple of offensive rebounds. And now Seabreeze will go back to work. So there are 24 schools which make up the Metro Conference.
Beautiful block shot there by DJ Thomas.
And unlike college, if a school opens up and they are a public high school, they're all located in Orange County, they're automatically a member of the Metro Conference.
30-second timeout is requested by Seabreeze.
Okay, there's only one conference that represents the Orange County. You don't have to be there's no voting or there's no accepting like you see in college. And in each of those, each of these games, a member of the Metro Conference takes on the Florida contingency.
The 15th annual Earl Graham Metro vs. Florida Challenge is presented by Advent Health, offering the top ER docs within blocks. They're Central Florida's #1 trusted emergency room. Sometimes life can take an unexpected turn. When it does, know that the area's most preferred ER is nearby. Their elite team of specially trained physicians and critical care nurses are available around the clock to care for any of life's thrills and spills. And with the most ER locations, Central Florida's #1 ER is always within reach. Find your Advent Health ER at myclosestER.com.
And so then at the end of the 26 games, there's 4 days, 26 games. We add up which side, the Metro Conference or the Florida contingency, gets more victories. And of course, it's based on several of these challenges at the college level. Currently, the SEC versus Big East.
Foul called against number 3, Chris Tyrell, his second personal foul. The team's 5th of this period. At the line shooting 2 for the Mustangs, number 1, DJ Thomas.
So Seabreeze coming in with a 1-1 record. They've already committed 4 turnovers. This is the 5th and 6th free throw for Wekiva. They're 3 of 5 now.
DJ Thomas now the number 1 scorer for the Mustangs. He has 60% of the offensive production, which of course would mean more if we had more than 5 points.
And of course the event for the last 5 years now, 5 years, has been officially includes Earl Graham's name. Longtime assistant coach, coached for over 50 years. We'll get more into the legacy he leaves in the second half.
Turnover, score it!
Stolen layup from Kai Orr.
And now the 8-2 lead for Wekiva, 6th in a row for the Mustangs, looking to up their record to 4-0. That's Dixon, and a whistle. 1:32 first quarter.
Fouls called against Mustangs. Number 3, Aaron Nichols, his first personal foul. The team's 3rd. Returning to the game for the Mustangs, number 21, Kenny Dieujuste.
Inbound pass, and that's going to be an easy deuce.
Score the inbound from Jordan Anthony.
8-4 lead now for Wekiva. Of course, we mentioned both these teams are known for defense-first philosophy. The difference is in how they play that defense. Wekiva, a very physical team, a grinded-out physical team. Seabreeze, maybe not quite extreme, but certainly much more of a relying on switching their defense traps and zones. More of a force the team to the outside and bad shots as Wekiva turns it over, as opposed to Wekiva, which will let you take the ball inside more often, and that's where they get physical, the pound and ground inside. 58 seconds remaining. So far, Wekiva giving up a high of 52 points. That was against Lake Nona last Friday afternoon. They've given up 28 and 36 points in their last couple of games, so certainly exactly what Coach Lubin wants, an average given up in the 40s from the left wing. No dice, clanks off the rim, ricochets off, long rebound, and Seabreeze comes down with that. I believe that's Bailey. He outlets it. A second pass, now the drive along the baseline into triple coverage, and that proves out to be a smart call as we get a whistle. And let's see who the foul is on.
Kai Orr is called with his first personal foul, the team's 4th. That was prior to the shot. It'll be Sandcrabs ball at the opposing baseline.
So both teams will be in bonus the rest of the quarter. 32.2 seconds remaining. The inbound, top of the key. That's Donohue, 5'8" freshman point guard. 1-on-1 against Nichols, and loses the ball, and couldn't quite come up. Thomas stepped on the out of bounds. 24.1 seconds remaining. Your remaining games today, there'll be 7 here from Lake Highland Prep. Lake Nona takes on Lake Wales. Next, Innovation versus Vieira, Oak Ridge versus Lake Highland Prep, of course, the host school. The stadium, the gym will be packed for that game. Boone versus Mount Dora, Timber Creek versus Lake Brantley, and we will take a couple games off and come back in, broadcast the last 3. 9 seconds remaining. Seabreeze lifts it up, air ball, coming down with the rebound is Dieujuste. 4 seconds, 3-2-1. Can't get the tray to drop. And so Wekiva, low-scoring game. They exert their will in a battle of defense. 8-4 as we head into the second quarter, the 15th annual Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge.
That takes us to the end of the second period. It's a low-scoring game, but it's a close one and a good one. Defensive contest has left us with an 8-4 lead for the Mustangs at the end of 8 minutes. Metro versus Florida Challenge extends their appreciation to the Foundation for Seminole State College. who in turn is supported by the Van Gundy Foundation. The impact of the life of Kim Van Gundy has continued through Seminole State College. To honor her memory and continue her legacy of support for education and creativity, her family has generously donated 2 scholarships to Seminole State. You can learn more about the Kimberly J. Van Gundy Endowed Scholarships for Education and Interior Design by visiting the link in your program. Speaking of the program, we are 100% digital these last few years, so we no longer print out the programs, but we do still make them, and they are available on our website, metrovsfl.com. You can also get the QR code to scan with your phone or your iPad at the admission table. We have that posted. So make sure it is absolutely free. Make sure you go on metrovsfl.com. You'll see a button right there on the homepage to download the 2025 program, which features full-color profiles, rosters, team photos, etc. for all of the teams participating in this year's event.
Back to live action here at Lake Highland Prep.
The Mustangs have the opening possession of the second period.
And we begin the second period with Wekiva holding an 8-4 lead, looking to go 4-0 on the season. Seabreeze, Wekiva with possession. They up that lead, drain the rain from Francillon.
For Jasen Francillon.
Seabreeze comes in at 1-1. 11-4 lead now for Wekiva. Wekiva is yet to trail. We had one tie at 2-2. Seabreeze looking to cut into that lead. The tray from Anthony, no dice, long, didn't catch rim, and possession will remain with Seabreeze. So mention Wekiva's defense, giving up an average in 40, and at least in that, statistically, Seabreeze out of Daytona Beach can match that. They've given up 38 and 41 points in their 2 games. So actually Seabreeze has a little bit lower average. So settle in. This is going to be a defensive-oriented game, and there you see that as that ball
Kyle
rolls.
Benedict did everything but get it in.
Yeah, and that was because of the defense. Just got a slight bump, just slightly off balance as he was going up in the air 1 minute into the second quarter. St. Pierre thinks about the tray, takes a deuce. Can't get it to go. And back the other way, Seabreeze. 3rd consecutive possession to cut into that 7-point lead, and they'll try again with Anthony. Ricochets off, and as you can hear the gym shoes squeaking, possession will remain with Seabreeze. So another statistic defensively, 7 rebounds for Wekiva in that first quarter, 8 for Seabreeze. The tray from Donohue, that battles rims in and out. Back the other way, the over-the-shoulder move, the pass from St. Pierre over to Dieujuste. And now Anderson, who's come into the game.
And Markel Anderson there really just bailing out the Mustangs. Of course, that's what happens when you put 3 guys on the same opponent. Left Anderson open at the top of the arc.
Into the corner, Francillon battling. Oh, beautiful pass inside to Jean Louise, who drops the tray.
Francillon on the pass to Caden Jean Louise for 2.
So it certainly has not been aesthetically pleasing in terms of a rhythm or any steadiness, but the bottom line is Wekiva now with a 9-point lead as we go 5.5 before halftime. Stop, pop, no drop, couldn't get the roll. Soft touch from Theron Lewis. In the end, though, a little too hard, and Wekiva with a chance to get that lead up to double digits. Again, it really has not had any consistent rhythm or flow to their offense, but they certainly scored the points, and now they stand on the verge of taking a comfortable double-digit lead. They will not. Bounces off, but doing Windex work, running that ball down. Dieujuste using that 6'6" frame, the junior, and they reset 5 minutes before halftime. At the top of the key, over to the right, Anderson spin, back over to St. Pierre. The 2-man game going now as we drop under 5 minutes. 13-4 lead, 4:48. Wekiva has yet to trail in this game, the second game of the 2025 Earl Graham Metro versus Florida challenge. No dice from Francillon, but Windex work and floating in the deuce, Jane Luis.
Hayden G. for 2.
So Wekiva getting those offensive rebounds. Now the turnover. Chance to up the lead and do it quickly. One of the few times we've seen transition out to the corner. Splash! And the foul. St. Pierre will go to the line with an opportunity for the 4-point play.
3-point basket is good for the Mustangs. Louvens St. Pierre, he'll be at the line shooting for the 4-point play. The foul is called against Christian Simmons, his first, the team's first of this period.
So a 10-0 run now for Wekiva, 4:19 remaining first quarter. And I think what I was just saying there about this not being the most aesthetically pleasing in terms of Wekiva putting together, manufacturing a rhythm and with any steadiness or a flow, that certainly has changed over the last couple of minutes. The last 7 points, they've looked like a much more rhythmic team finding their mojo.
4-point play converts successfully for St. Pierre, and now we'll pause for a
30-second timeout requested by Seabreeze. The 15th annual Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge is graciously presented with support from Mo Money, as well as Winter Park Driving School. Winter Park Driving School now offering driving tests so that you can skip the line at the DMV. That's a chore that nobody wants, and they will be glad to relieve you of it and also make sure that your student driver is set up for safety and success. Visit WPDriving.com to schedule a lesson for your student driver today.
So we get back to live action here at Lake Highland Prep, home of the Highlanders. If you're not familiar, this is, keep me honest here, Neil, the 4th year that we have held this event at 2 sites. It's not because Apopka isn't available to host all 4 days. It's because it's to honor Earl Graham, who spent, as we get a
3 for Caden G. Lewis.
So Wekiva now 3 consecutive three-pointers. That doesn't mean it's in a row, but they've made their last 3 attempts.
Correct. So now that is, let's see, they started the period with 8, so that's 14-0 in this quarter, if I'm
it's a 14-0 run going back to the end of the first quarter.
And now Kenny Dieujuste gets a blocked shot, which will add to the Mustangs' momentum, if not their score. And again, as I started to say, 4 years ago, we split this into 2 sites in honor of Earl Graham, who spent the majority of his coaching career at those 2 programs. Not the only 2 places he coached. Yeah, it was obviously at Wekiva, where you and I got to know him.
Yes,
but
under Scott Williams.
But yes, spent the most years of his career, finished his career at Apopka, and spent a lot of years here at Lake Highland Prep. And so these 2 sites now co-host the Metro versus Florida Challenge. Apopka representing the Metro Conference, Lake Highland Prep representing the Florida teams. That's why we are here today rather than at Apopka. Actually, when Scott Williams first went to Apopka, there was an idea that Apopka and Wekiva would co-host the Metro versus Florida Challenge. That got shot down by the county, though, because they didn't want to leave 2 public schools open over Thanksgiving break instead of 1 for efficiency reasons, which is understandable.
3.5 minutes remaining, 22-4 lead for Wekiva. They are now on a 14-0 run. And they certainly, as I mentioned, they have found their rhythm. They built a 11-4 lead through the first half of the first quarter. Just playing nasty shutdown, lockdown defense and being fortuitous, taking advantage.
Basket by Evan Bailey to put the Sandcrabs on the board for the second quarter.
Since that 11-4 lead, though, they have looked like a team much more into a rhythm and the mojo, finding their mojo with that rhythm. 2:53 remaining, and while we got a chance, and we were talking about Coach Graham, as Mark mentioned, he coached at Lake Highland Prep, also coached at Wekiva and Apopka. Both those schools, he was coaching under Scott Williams, and I just want to say he was a great coach. He was a great assistant coach, always Their perfect right-hand man is Jean-Louis launches, can't get that one, falls off the side out of bounds. And it will be Seabreeze possession. Wekiva unable to drop the tray. But he was the kind of coach who could take an average player, turn it into an all-district or even an all-state with his coaching. But he was an even better person. First of all, you could see that he went into firefighting, a field that basically you're a public servant. You're also putting your life on the line. And that really carried over into the way that he coached. He was the kind of coach who, when a player needed a little extra tutelage, they needed some more practice, he'd schedule that practice before he went in to do his shift at the firefighting, often before the sun came up in the winter, behind the scenes work, and he did that in terms of the actual preparation and strategy.
Yeah, and Neil, so much, I think so much credit is due to assistant coaches. They don't get their name at the top of the program.
And I just also like to say in the case of Coach Graham, he was the coach, and there seems to be one for every successful program who is always, possession will be with Seabreeze, but sometimes when you see assistant coaches and they kind of get known as much as the head coach. But Coach Graham was the coach who always stayed in the background, but yet no team could win without him contributing what he did. Again, as I mentioned, he would often coach one-on-one instruction in the gym, but it was also his preparation, doing the film work and coming up with the strategy and game plans. So a minute and a half left, and Jordan Anthony.
3 for Jordan Anthony.
And Neil, on the subject of assistant coaches, as Wekiva is playing here today, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Coach Max Purcell. We got really shocking and heartbreaking news over the weekend. He had a heart attack last week, and at the end of last week, and passed away over the weekend, and that's just devastating to the Mustang community. If you didn't know Max Purcell, as we get a
3 from Eric Nichols.
Coach Purcell was an assistant football coach for some years. He was a head football coach at Evans for a while after being an assistant coach. He's an alumnus of Evans High School. Was most recently at Wekiva. He was the PASS teacher and ISS teacher. Really turned around a lot of troubled students, got them back on the right track, and earned a lot of respect from them along the way. And was also a coach of coaches, as we get
Another basket by Eric Nichols.
and so Wekiva really just grappling with the unexpected loss of him over the weekend. We've had tributes pouring in for him on Instagram. Obviously not connected to basketball in any way, but since Wekiva's playing here, certainly want to mention that as
Theron Lewis gets the basket for the Sandcrabs.
Can't get the tray to drop from St. Pierre, so certainly ending that first half on a flurry in terms of the pace. But Wekiva certainly coming out and showing why they are on an upward trend, continuing what has been a 3-0 start. 14-0 run, propelling them to the lead at halftime.
That takes us to the end of the second period, and the Mustangs outscoring the Sandcrabs 19-7 in the second quarter, and so that will give Wekiva a 27-11 advantage going into the locker rooms as we get to intermission here in Game 2 of the 15th Annual Earl Graham Metro vs. Florida Challenge, presented by St. Germain Chiropractic, Burn Pad Orlando, and Advent Health. The Metro vs. Florida Challenge is presented by Burn Pad Orlando, who invites you to step on the scale with their money-back guarantee. If you don't lose weight in the first 10 days, they'll refund your money. Give them a call at 855-889-THIN. That's 855-889-THIN to take charge of your weight and your life. Metro vs. Florida Challenge is also presented by St. Germain Chiropractic Clinics, offering the best non-invasive healthcare services in the Central Florida area. With most insurance accepted, they can help you with back and neck pain, headaches, auto accidents, slip and fall injuries, and musculoskeletal conditions, as well as much more. Remember, when in pain, call St. Germain.
Those of you watching on the live stream, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in about 6 minutes here from Lake Highland Prep with Game 2 of the 15th Annual Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge. Welcome back to Lake Highland Prep, where we are ready to go with the third quarter of Game 2. First quarter, all defense on both sides. Neither Wekiva nor Seabreeze really able to establish any offensive rhythm, but boy, were they rock solid on defense. Ended 8-4. Second quarter, entirely different story. The Mustangs came out swinging and did not stop, and they outscored Seabreeze 19-7 in the second quarter. And that's taken us to the game we have right now. Certainly, though, Seabreeze not out of it yet, as they will open up scoring.
First basket of the third quarter is scored for the Sandcrabs by Willie Tucker.
Cuts the lead to 27-13, and also want to point out that
Willie Tucker's also called him his third personal foul, the first of the team this quarter.
that second quarter included a 14-0 run put together by Wekiva. Again, Wekiva coming in 3-0, a team that has been moving on an upward trend for the last couple of years. The 2022 team went to the state Final Four. Everybody left, and they've suffered through a couple of under 500 seasons as a spin and scored the deuce for Dieujuste.
Kenny Dieujuste picks up 2 for the Mustangs.
Reestablishes the lead at 16 points, and this is a team that's come out, look like they have gone through those trials and tribulations.
Quick answer from Evan Bailey.
And have improved because of that. Back we go, 29-15. The quick pass underneath the Dieujuste, unable to get the shot off. Good recovery defense from 6 feet, no dice. That's Francillon. He can't track down the rebound. Seabreeze will bring it out. And also, Mark, coinciding with the difference in those first 2 quarters, as you described it, the pace, the up and down pace has certainly picked up as well. Much more quicker, much more fluent than we saw in that first quarter, as Wekiva now with the 29-15 lead. Seabreeze comes in 1-1. Both these teams rely on defense first. Both their coaches, Louvens for Wekiva and Gaines for Seabreeze, are known for defense first. They do it in a couple of different ways, though. Quick pass along the baseline, and the slam!
Mustangs dunked by Jasen Francillon.
And that's one of those plays that gets the team excited. They come up out of the bench, 6 minutes, third quarter,
well,
lead
Neil,
up to 16 now.
You were talking about the pace and how it's gone, kind of back and forth the whole game and not been really consistent. Slow at the beginning, really hot in the second quarter. But that, I think, is a perfect example of Wekiva demonstrating patience.
Yeah, they moved the ball quickly, but they were patient in their shot selection. And so now they'll get an opportunity to further up that lead. Wekiva has yet to trail in this game. It was a slow-moving, slow-scoring first quarters. Francillon takes the tray. The splash!
3 for Jasen Francillon.
But Wekiva has led from the beginning. The steal, St. Pierre does not shoot, double teams, kicks it back out to Thomas. He can't find the range. Windex work, score the rebound for Dieujuste, and under the basket, he gets the foul.
Kenny Dieujuste fouled on the attempt, up at the line and shoot 2 for the Mustangs. Willie Tucker is called in his 4th personal foul, the team's 2nd this quarter.
So 19-point lead now. And yes, it will go to 20. So Wekiva certainly with a very comfortable lead. Mentioned that in the second quarter, they began with a 14-0 run, a couple of trays in there. They had scored 3 consecutive field goal attempts. I don't mean three possessions, 3 field goal attempts, but they made 3 attempts in a row going back over to the first quarter. And they've come out in the second quarter now. They've put together an equally game-taking control damage to the Seabreeze run.
Block shot will give the ball back to the Mustangs. And Neil, I don't want to whistle past the fact that was the 4th personal foul for Willie Tucker. Now, he only has 2 points in the books, but he has been a presence tonight, or this afternoon, for Seabreeze. And while the Sandcrabs do have several people on their bench, they also brought 3 JV players with them that are not normally part of their varsity roster we haven't seen yet. But it's not they don't have a bench, but apparently not in a position to use that depth yet.
And a 35-15 lead now for Wekiva.
Foul is called against number 4, Evan Bailey, his 2nd personal foul, the team's 3rd of this period.
4:51 remaining third quarter. No fouls for Wekiva. You heard Mark just say that Seabreeze now has 3. Remember, it's still fairly new. I believe this is his 3rd season, but we went from the college-style rule where there was 7 per half. You go to the free throw line. It's now 5 per quarter.
Right, which is more similar to the NBA. There are some differences in how you earn those fouls between the NFHS and the NBA, but as far as the overall cadence of how team fouls lead to bonus free throws, it is more or less like the NBA now.
Let's point out about 150 fans in attendance. They've made the trip down to Lake Highland Prep, as we talked about, held here now on the first day because of Coach Earl Graham's ties to the school, longtime assistant coach. And the
Stolen
interception
by Jaden Dixon.
First turnover of the third quarter.
Blocked by Eric Nichols, who saves what otherwise would have certainly been points off turnover.
So Wekiva continues to hustle even with that 20-point lead. 4 minutes, third quarter. 20-point lead, looking to up it. Go 4-0 on the season. Francillon, the 8-foot turnaround. No dice, gets its own rebound. Windex work, gets a 3rd consecutive offensive rebound. Deposit, +1.
Jasen Francillon, and 1. He gets the basket and a chance to make it a 3-point play. The foul is called against the Sandcrabs, number 4. Evan Bailey, his 3rd.
And can't get the free throw. Clanks off the heel, and ball comes loose. Thomas keeps it alive. Francillon picks it up and can't get it. Finger roll, no dice. Thomas, and he makes the deposit.
DJ Thomas, second chance basket.
So even though the 3-point play didn't drop, it really amounted to a 4-point play.
Yeah, offensive rebounds, and that's something statistically Wekiva's not really been able to do the last couple of years. Again, going back to this is a team that has been steadily ticking upward and gaining experience, developing their talent. And there you can see it with the statistic, the offensive rebounding. 3:10 remaining, the long-range tray. It was from Tyrell. The bench, the Seabreeze bench, stood up, a couple of players, but couldn't body language it in. Thomas gets the rebound. We come back the other way. Wekiva looking to add to that 24-point lead as we drop under 3 minutes, and Wekiva is really taking control of this game, and they continue with the drain the rain.
From Louvens St. Pierre.
So now a 15-2 run. Mentioned they went on a 14-0 run in the second quarter to build a solid lead, and now they're looking to take control and really just put this game away in terms of the victory with this current 15-2 run. Man-to-man defense remains in effect. Coach Louvens, since about midway through that first quarter, has not had any reason to go away from his standard defensive philosophy. That's man-to-man. Half court.
Checking into the game for the Mustangs, Kai Orr, Jace Moore, and Markel Anderson.
42-15 lead, as you heard Mark say. That's Mark Barchi, who's also the public address announcer. Several player changes. Coach Louvens continues to rotate. Back the other way, the stop to go. Score the deuce.
Nope.
No, it's offensive foul, player control.
No basket, player control foul is called against number 23, Caden Eugene Lewis. His first personal foul, the team's first of this period. Checking into the game for the Sandcrabs, number 1, Jordan Donohue.
So 2:04 remaining.
So for those of you not familiar with the rules of basketball, the key difference there when you get that collision on the fast break is whether or not the defender plants his feet and is stationary at the time that contact occurs. If he is, it's a charge against the shooting player. If he's not, then it's a block against the defender, and it will usually result in free throws.
So St. Pierre with the rebound at the other end. That's Francillon.
Not for want of trying. Got 3 shots off there.
Now offensive rebounding continues. Wekiva pounding the offensive side. They now have 5 in this quarter and a total of 13 for the game as we drop under a minute and a half. Seabreeze needing some points. even though we're in the third quarter, I still say they need to get them quickly, maybe not as much as trailing by a couple possessions with under half a minute, but they are in that territory that this outcome could get away from them in the next couple of minutes if they don't put some points on the board.
Foul's called against number 12, Markel Anderson. That's his first personal foul, the team's second.
So that offensive rebounding has also led to an 11-6 advantage in field goal attempts in this quarter as well for Wekiva.
Checking into the game for the Sandcrabs, number 21, Carl Benedict, and number 23, Preston Masseline.
Wekiva looking to go 4-0 on the season. Seabreeze coming in with a 1-1 record. Lake Highland prep the site, down by Colonial and Mills.
Checking into the Sandcrabs, number 13, Christian Simmons.
Of course, Seabreeze coming out of Daytona Beach, right across from their stadium, Bethune-Cookman's home field. Excuse me, right across the street. Yes, across the street. Just about a mile from Daytona International Speedway. As the turnover, Wekiva with the opportunity to further extend that lead. Excuse me, Seabreeze with an opportunity to cut into a 26-point lead. Again, they do need to get some points in addition to coming up with some stops. One-on-one, that's Dixon, he hands it off. Left wing extended, trying to go one-on-one. Out of bounds, and that was Lewis, a 6'2" senior forward, going one-on-one, and Seabreeze will maintain possession. Wekiva on the southeast side of Apopka, right next to the 429. Of course, the football stadium, the 429 overlooks the football stadium. 30 seconds remaining. Down low, beautiful pass into Simmons. He can't do anything. Looked like the ball rim had a lid. Skying for the rebound, coming down the other way. That's Jace Moore, gives it off to Anderson. He can't get the tray. Windex work, 12 seconds remaining. And Dieujuste trying to force the issue, and he will as he draws the foul on the reverse.
Foul call against number 23, Preston Masseline, his first. The team's fifth. At the line, shooting two, will be Caden G. Lewis.
So Wekiva now in the bonus for the remaining 10.5 seconds, and iron unkind on that attempt. Gene Lewis with 5 points. Francillon leading all scorers with 10. Second free throw, can't get that one. Yes, nope, it did go in, but lane violation. So in terms of statistics, the only area that you have a complaint is the free throw shooting. Otherwise, the lead would probably be over 30. 5 seconds remaining. One last shot from the corner. Air ball, and that was Simmons taking. So Wekiva put together a 14-0 run in the first quarter to take control, and they re-upped their lead, taking even more control. A comfortable 42-16 lead on a 15-3 run in the third quarter.
The 15th annual Earl Graham Metro vs. Florida Challenge is sponsored by Elevate Orlando, a civic nonprofit focused on helping students grow in strength and character of application of essential life skills. With more than 1,500 students and a 98% graduation rate, see how their accredited elective course through Orange County Public Schools can help your students succeed.
Welcome back to Lake Highland Prep. Ready to get going here with the fourth quarter.
And the Mustangs will have the opening possession of the fourth period.
Not that they really need an extra possession, but they'll take it anyway.
And Wekiva currently enjoying a 42-16 lead with possession, as you heard Mark say. That'd be Mark Barchi, who's also the public address announcer. It's been two major runs for Wekiva, looking to go 4-0 on the season. Seabreeze comes in 1-1. 14-0 in the first quarter. It took place starting about 4 minutes remaining. It was an 8-2 lead for Wekiva. They've yet to trail in this game, and then they went on a 15-2 run in the third quarter. Seabreeze did score the first 4 points of the second half. Since then, it's been all Wekiva as they've extended that lead from the teens all the way into the mid-20s as we begin this fourth quarter. This is the 2025 Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge. It's a stop, pop, and drop off the pass. Jean Louise.
Caden Jean Lewis for two.
And of course, we talked in the first half about Coach Earl Graham, the longtime assistant. Unfortunately, he passed away January 7th, 2021. It's been almost 5 years now. Talked at great length about that, but he was a great assistant coach, got the most out of his players, but he was an even better individual, starting with the fact that he went into firefighting, a field that you go into because you believe in service to others. Of course, you can go online and read the biography that Mark wrote about Coach Graham and get a better understanding, if you're not familiar with the man and the coach, of why this event bears his name. And we play here at Lake Highland Prep because he was a coach long time among many of his stops. So this is also the format. It is very simple. Each game, a member of the Metro Conference takes on a non-member, aka the Florida contingency. Every public high school in Orange County is a member of the Metro Conference at the end of the 26 games. It's 4 days, 26 games. We add up which side has the most victories. Lake Nona, representing the Metro Conference, won the first game against Orangewood Christian. So a good start for the Metro Conference, a 1-0 lead. See who this foul is on, 6:25 remaining. And that, okay, so we also got a timeout.
Foul was called against number 0, Kylor, his second, the team's second, and the Mustangs request a full timeout. Full timeout called by Wekiva. We invite you to stay with us for the remainder of day one here at the Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge. Coming up next at 1:45 or thereabouts, we'll have Lake Nona, representing the Metro Conference, taking on the Lake Wales Highlanders. That'll be the other Highlanders in this event, of course, besides Lake Highland Prep. Then Innovation, the Bulls, takes on Viera at 3:30. Those two games will not be on YouTube, but they will be on NFHS Network and Huddle. Then we will have our featured game of the evening, 5:15, Lake Highland Prep. The host school will take on the number 3 team in 7A for the state, according to Source Hoops. Lake Highland Prep is the number 5 team in 3A, according to Source Hoops, but what do they know? We'll find out tonight. Oak Ridge versus Lake Highland Prep at 5:15. That'll be a marquee game for day one. And then we'll wrap up the day with Boone versus Mount Dora at 6:45 and Timber Creek versus Lake Brantley at 8:15. If you can't remember all of that, don't worry, you don't have to. It's all on MetroVSFL.com, where you can see it online or download a copy of the program.
So 6:25 remaining from Lake Highland Prep, and Wekiva in firm control. And I think at this point we can say that really Seabreeze is going to have to put together a quarter of the season. Well, what would be the quarter of the season if they're going to come back from this 28-point deficit?
Yeah, and something else we didn't mention earlier, Neil, is that you know, the FHSAA has gone back and forth on exactly how the calendar works for basketball. For a long time, Thanksgiving week was week 1 of the season, so preseason classics were the week before Thanksgiving. The week of Thanksgiving was the first week of the regular season, and so in most cases, not all cases, but most cases, the Metro versus Florida Challenge event was each team's first game on the record of the season. Then for a while, back in like the late 20-teens, the FHSAA moved the season back a week, moved it later by a week, partly to address some feedback that they had over, you know, football players who were dual sport athletes and not being able to play in basketball because their team was still in the playoffs. And so they moved it back, and that actually caused the Metro versus Florida Challenge to have to move to MLK weekend for a couple of years, if you remember that, because you literally couldn't play this event during Thanksgiving because the season hadn't started yet. And this does not meet the criteria for the format of a preseason classic, even if you wanted to. Then the FHSAA swung the pendulum the other direction. They went back to having week 1 be a Thanksgiving week for a little while, and now it's actually a week earlier. And part of the reason for that, I'll get to in just a second, is we get a foul called against Mustangs number 10, Jasen Francillon, his second, the team's third. At the line shooting 2, Kyle Benedict. But as we get into these free throws, originally, as we get the first free throw made, the girls' season and the boys' season were offset by a week. So the girls' season was 1 week earlier than the boys' season. They would start the week before Thanksgiving. The boys would start the week of Thanksgiving, and then that allowed the FHSAA to have the playoffs offset by a week. So when we got to Lakeland, which won't be in Lakeland this year, when we got to Lakeland, the girls would have their state championships 1 week for each classification. The boys would have their state championships the following week. Well, the FHSAA decided to shake things up a couple years ago, and now the girls' season and the boys' season are the same. So the boys' season accelerated a week earlier to match the girls' season, and now, in order to spread out the games, they do it by classification. So smaller classifications and bigger classifications get mixed together for both boys and girls when they go to the state championship rather than having them in separate weeks. All of that to say that where this used to be week 1 of the regular season, it's now week 2.
Outlet layup to Kyle Benedict.
And so what that means is that while this is still very much an early season test, we don't see a lot of, there's not a lot of data, there's not a lot of statistics in the books already to really give us a sense of how things are going to go at the Metro versus Florida Challenge, because you only have the preseason classic and then 1 week of the regular season. But the bottom line is, you mentioned that Wekiva's riding a 4-0 record because they had a busy week, 3-0 record, excuse me. They had a busy week last week. So this will actually be their 4th game of the regular season. You and I have seen them play 5 times total, two times in the preseason classic, 3 times in the regular season. And so we kind of have a sense of what this team looks like.
And that's what they look like. There's an
basket from Kenny Dieujuste on the pass from Eric Nichols.
And there's an example of what they look like, a great pass, great timing. So 46-19 lead for Wekiva. Wekiva is not quite as, how you say, fluidic in their scoring, moving the ball up and down the court
basket
now.
by Preston Masseline.
His first points of the night.
With this huge lead, this comfortable lead, but still looking every bit the team that has improved dramatically from 2 years ago. 3:20 remaining. And again, we also want to remind you to stick around after this game, since we have talked about him a couple of times, Earl Graham. We do have the MVP in his honor at the end of the game. Our first game, it was a rather easy choice, as Lake Nona's.
Yeah, this game I could make an argument for a couple of different folks.
The first game, Ryan Carey dropped 24. He scored 20 in the first half. Lake Nona was behind for most of that first half, and those 20 points kept Lake Nona close enough to pull out the victory in the second half. This is not the case. We've seen a very balanced attack. And just about every statistic, you look, scoring is usually, of course, the statistics that gets the attention first, but rebounding, steals, there's been a lot of work done by each player that does not go in statistics on defense. So It's still up in the air, 2.5 minutes remaining. The bottom line knows Wekiva's going to go to 4-0. And they certainly have looked like a team that's poised to have a 20-win season, as well as Mark said at the beginning, to be a sleeper, not getting a lot of attention. But certainly I've yet to see anything that would indicate that they are not at the same level as some of those teams that get attention, such as the Lake Highland Prep in Oak Ridge, which we will see at 5:15.
Foul is called against Seabreeze's number 21, Kyle Benedict. That's his first personal foul. The team's first in this period. And sends the Mustangs to the free throw line. Markel Anderson will shoot 2.
So also, since we do have this large lead here, one of the key reasons you can go online at the MetroVSFL.com site, but just also want to talk about orally. There are several reasons for this event. Of course, we mentioned Scott Williams, who's now the coach at Apopka. He was at Wekiva before that, started the program, was there for 7 years. He started this event as a signature program, something that will give Wekiva attention and notice in his third year, 2010, when he left to go up to Apopka. And of course, it's not unusual for coaches to move around. Most coaches spend between 5 and 10 years at each school, at least that's my take, based on my 40 years of reporting, covering coaches. But there are some reasons as well, as this event has grown and continued to grow. We now have 26 teams. That first year was 2 days and I believe 14 games. Now up to 26, but creates some strong matchups, give teams a look at how they perform under pressure, which you've touched upon, Mark. Provides an opportunity for Central Florida teams to gather centrally for matchups they may not otherwise be able to schedule. Basketball fans are involved with high-profile event for excitement, and it do so at the beginning of the season. It's a great value for fans in terms of finances. Opportunity to see up to 28 games this year. It's only 26, and it's an economical admission fee and provides valuable exposure for participating players and the athletes to college coaches, scouts, and media outlets. And of course, as you heard in the introductions, the concept, we do have the Metro versus Florida. We add up which side wins more. We add up which side wins more games at the end, based on the couple of similar events at the college level. Used to be ACC, Big Ten. Now the premier one is the Southeast Conference versus the Big East. But in that context, it's an opportunity for the Metro Conference in Central Florida to really make a statement about the quality of basketball that's played here.
Yeah, Neil, and like I said, this one, if you just watched the first 4 minutes of the game, you really didn't know which way it was going to go. But Wekiva clearly adapted, and this is the thing I say that's so beautiful about this event, is that Seabreeze is really an unknown entity. Now, I'm not saying that the coaching staff didn't go try to scout game film and do all the things that you do as a coaching staff, of course. But Seabreeze is not an opponent that Wekiva normally encounters during the regular season, or indeed in my history has ever encountered before, as we get a basket by Jordan Donohue. And so you saw that, like, for the first 4 minutes,
3 from DJ Thomas.
Yeah, Mark, and to that point, just to list 5 or 6 teams right away, West Orange, Apopka, Olympia, Dr. Phillips, Coe, all those teams within 10 to 12 miles of Wekiva. Even if you're not actually scouting those teams in official capacity during the regular season, you can still go and scout the players. All these players know each other because they're geographically
right, well, the other thing is, like when Gersino Lubin plays Scott Williams, both of them know each other's style. Heck, Gersino learned half of what he knows from Scott Williams.
Yeah, Coach Lubin was a member.
Second chance basket from Jace Moore.
Coach Lubin served as Coach Williams' right-hand man, part of his staff for 6 years, I believe. When Coach Williams moved on to Apopka, Coach Williams put in a good word for Coach Lubin to succeed him. So that'll do it here. It's been a Wekiva-dominated game from the beginning, as you can tell by the score. They took an 8-2 lead, steadily build that. 2 runs pretty much secure, took them from that early 8-2 lead to this comfortable lead, and now the victory. 14-0 run midway through the first quarter, and then a 15-2 run to close out the third quarter. Seabreeze scoring the first 4 points, and then the 15-2 run. A balanced attack. Jasen Francillon leading all scorers with 10 points. Darion Thomas second with 9. Caden Jean-Louise with 7, but pretty much balanced throughout all the statistics. And now we're going to find out who will take home the Earl Graham MVP. 55-23 your final score, 2-0 lead for the Metro Conference now over the Florida contingency. Mark?
That takes us to the end of game 2, and after a tight first quarter, the Mustangs adapted and conquered. 55-23 is the final score of the second game, and the Metro teams take a 2-0 lead for the challenge over the Florida teams. Before we leave this game behind and move on to game 3, please direct your attention to center court for the MVP of today's game. Throughout his life and coaching career, Coach Graham inspired thousands of players to love the game and become better men. While he can never truly be replaced, we honor Coach Graham's legacy by playing on in his name. It is in that spirit that our annual celebration of Central Florida basketball forever bears his name, and you can find out more by picking up a copy of our digital program at metrovsfl.com. Here to present today's award is Earl's son, Ron Graham, and the winner of the most valuable player for game number 2, with 5 points scored and a lot of intangibles on the court tonight, it's number 3, Eric Nichols.
How much time do we have for? Do you know?
10 minutes.
10 minutes to warm up?
That's going to do it for this portion of our broadcast. The next 2 games will be on NFHS Network only. We will not be live streaming them on our YouTube channel, but we'll be back later tonight. And so we do encourage you to switch over to NFHS Network if you're not already. Our Robo camera has got that covered. Lake Nona versus Lake Wales coming up next at 1:45. Innovation versus Vieira at 3:30, and then Neil and I will be back at 5:15 to bring you the marquee game of the night. The host school, Lake Highland Prep, hosting Oak Ridge, always a perennial playoff contender. That should be a great one. We'll be joining you a little bit later this afternoon for that. Until then, we wish you a good day from Lake Highland Prep in day 1 of the 15th annual Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge, presented by Advent Health, Bernvat Orlando, and St. Germain Chiropractic.